Final Fantasy 16's ending is ambiguous. Okay? If you've seen any article or any video or anything from anybody telling you that it happens either one way or another way, they're wrong. There is no definitive answer for the ending. There are a lot of clues suggesting an ending that a lot of people believe to be true, and then some people miss those clues and they believe the other half to be true. So neither is wrong. This is why I believe Yoshi P did the ambiguous ending, for people to have discussions about it. I don't particularly agree with ambiguous endings. I like a actual conclusion, like that is like right in front of you, like this is beginning, this is the middle, this is the end, and this is our story. Not this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is an ending that could have happened, or this is an ending that could have happened. But that's what they decided to go with. Now, I've seen a lot of news articles, I've seen a lot of gaming publishers, I've seen a lot of videos, a lot of posts on different websites. They all talk about how this is the ending. Not true. The ending is extremely ambiguous. Now, if you do a lot of the side content and you pick up a lot of the active lore and you have all the subtle clues, it could lead you to believe that one ending is true. Or if you miss those things, you could interpret it a completely different way. Now, there's a lot of points in here. So the one thing we're going to be talking about for the ending is who lived and who died. The three that are up in the air that aren't actually confirmed, the one that I would say the most likely to be dead would be Dion. We see him fall, and that's the last we see of him. So, whenever they say you don't see something happen, you never know. The other one would be Joshua, who we know Clive tried to use rays on him, and it just restored his body, and we know that rays can't revive the dead. But this is Clive with like the power of a god at this point. So we don't know. And then at the end with the book being written as Joshua, that leads into that as well. Maybe. And then Clive is the other. People think that Clive died and at the end he was turning to stone from the bearer's curse. But the thing is, Clive had no external injuries in that scene. None. He had his hand turned to stone from one final spurt of trying to use magic, and his hand slowly started turning to stone, just like some other characters that you see in the game, just like Sid, just like all the bearers that you see that are forced to use magic overdosed. But now that magic is gone, that's it. That is what caused these curses to spread. Magic. Clive has erased magic from the world. So if anybody thinks, oh yeah, it's slowly going to take over his whole body, no. At that point, you can see the flicker of Clive's fire go out. He can't use it anymore. Magic is gone, so his hand went to stone because he overused it at that moment in time. So, Clive, we don't know. He's laying on a beach. He's exhausted from what happened, and he's just laying there. You think he might be alive, think he might be dead. That's just how it goes. Now, a lot of evidence suggests, especially with active time lore, that he might have survived. One of them is obviously Jill. One of her final side quests, she compares Clive to Sunrise. She makes her prayers to Mattia all the time for him to always come home safe. And that how the sunrise is what signals to her. It's like a symbolism for her that she holds that serves as that is clear indication that he has returned and that he is going to return to her. So, and the disappearance of the star. Jill cries because at this point she can no longer, because these bearers, the icons, they can sense each other. At this moment, she doesn't sense Clive anymore. The star goes out, and she thinks it's a bad thing. She thinks he's died. That's why she starts crying. Until the sun goes up, sun comes up immediately, and you can interpret this as like a wishing star. That this is it finally granted her wish. Because the wish she made in the beginning of the game and all the other times, she always said, I want him to safely come back to me. He never did. After Phoenix Gate, he might have lived, but then they were apart for 13 years. So I think you can interpret this as this is the first time that Mattia is granting the wish. He is transmitting the message to the heavens or whatever. That this is the wish. For say, you can interpret it that way or not. Again, like I said with Clive, the petrification does not progress past his hand. It only occurred when he attempted to use magic, just like with Sid's loss of limb. And so, he eventually he just succumbs to exhaustion and he passes out. Now, I don't know how you would do if they were to do DLC of him, returning to the hideout, because magic is gone. You're losing one of the biggest gameplay components of this game. So I don't know. The other one, where if Joshua could be alive or not be alive, it's the end of the game. There is, in the far future, magic is a myth. And it's been a very long time since it's existed because Clive erased it. And there is a book titled Final Fantasy written by Joshua. Now, this could either have been written by Joshua, or this could be Clive taking his brother's name in honor and memory of him, like he did Sid. And he wrote the book, because there's also a side quest where he gets a quill and he plans on writing a book and all those other things. The other one, there's another thing that supports Clive living as well, his personal growth in the game. There's a pivotal moment where he commits to no more breaking promises. He pledges to keep Joshua safe, and he assures Jill he will always return to her. Now, this is something that is a good character moment for him because he's so willing to sacrifice himself, and everyone's always yelling at him that he can't do this on his own. He has to have help. And he finally promises, you're right. And so breaking these promises at the very end, it would undermine Clive's entire character development. Okay, so while the fate of Clive, I think, is more certain, Joshua is probably the most ambiguous, whereas Dion is probably the most final. But symbolism has always been very important in Final Fantasy. So let's do this, like with Jill, when dawn breaks, you always come back to me. It's a visual representation at the end. So, and the conclusion, I think, is just in the clues. You piece it all together, you think if Jill's reaction, she has the relief and smile at daybreak, indicating he's alive. The Mattia star disappearing, granting her wish. Clive's hand turning to stone, but magic has been erased, so it stops after that point. The two descendants, the children that resemble Clive and Joshua at the end, are probably Clive's descendants. The entire story is narrated by Clive, beginning to end. His personal growth, promising these people in the game that he's going to come back. And it's always been a thing. So my final revelation for this is that I believe he's alive. I believe that Jill's reaction, the disappearance of the star, his halted transformation, the after credits scene, I believe it's clear that Clive eventually does return to Jill. His narration, promising to solidify his survival, and while the secret ending leaves room to interpretation whether Joshua also survived, Clive could have also written that book. So this is one of the reasons why I believe they went with an ambiguous ending, so it would create discussion for people to talk about. But I think if a lot of people pick up on certain clues, you can lean one way, and then if you miss those clues, you can lean the other. So until they come out fully and say, this is what happened to Clive and Joshua, and this is what happened to Clive and Joshua, and whatever, it's up to the fans to interpret that. So if you see an article or a video or anything telling you, this is what happened at the end, this person clearly died, this person clearly lived, this is how it ended, it's all been a fairy tale book, blah, blah, blah. They misinterpreted a ton of things, and they do not know the point of an ambiguous ending. While I don't agree with an ambiguous ending, and I would prefer something straight up told to me, I believe this is fine. It creates a lot of discussion, and it kind of takes away, I guess, from the people complaining that Final Fantasy XVI isn't an RPG, but that is a discussion for another day.